Well, Kurt, we got to hear John Cena just tear into the fans for 10 or 15 minutes tonight. A historically significant episode of Raw, not just because it aired worldwide in the middle of the afternoon here in the United States, emanating from Brussels, Belgium, but a John Cena heel promo, which people had been clamoring for the better part of 20 plus years. We got it tonight. I thought it was great. What'd you think?
I thought it was great too. This is exactly what I've been hoping for him to say probably since 2006. And we finally got it tonight. He literally ripped into the fans saying that you guys are ungrateful. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves. You guys made this a toxic relationship and I'm not dealing with it anymore. The one thing that I really liked that stood out was the fact that he pointed out that you're not getting any new theme music. That's me on the theme song. You're not getting any new gear because you dress like me. I don't dress like you. Yeah, anything he could have said short of using 4-letter words, he said to that audience tonight. And honestly, considering the setting, I don't think it would have worked any better than it did here with that international crowd. Yeah, they really made it stand out even more.
He got the fans swore for him, so he didn't have to, which was nice of the fans. Netflix a little bit late, or WWE a little bit late on bleeping out the
yes,
which was nice. I mean, I think the bleeping of the crowd is kind of silly. And yeah, you brought up the Cena saying, you guys just want, and you take. Well, I'm not going to give you anything. I'm not going to give you a new theme song. I'm not going to give you a new outfit. This is what you get. Had he come out with something different, there was a risk. And I think they were cognizant of the possibility that fans would cheer for Cena because he was cool and finally giving them what they wanted. And Cody's popular enough and Cena was effective enough here. And frankly, it just seemed like the tide was against Cena anyway. But had he acted like more cool and changed his music and all that, there was a chance some fans might be like, hey, I kind of dig this Cena. I don't think there's a risk of Cena getting this version of Cena being cheered, him going, I mean, I have a couple suggestions about the promo, but I mean, I thought it was great. And I think him going, I'm not giving you guys anything more. I gave you everything and you didn't appreciate it. I think it works.
Yeah, I thought it worked too. And look, you could not like John Cena. You could boo him all you want, but he had some valid points for all the years he's put in, for all the times he had a smile when he probably didn't want to smile and like say, thank you guys so much and be nice to the fans when he probably wanted to tell them to F off. Now he finally got the chance to say all of it. And yeah, that's one of the most important attributes in certain villains, whether it's wrestling, whether it's in movies or television shows, is that villain kind of has to have like a valid reason for the reason why they're doing things. And I think we saw tonight that John Cena did have some valid reasons for lashing out at the fans the way that he did. And what I also liked was how Cody came out and kind of flipped it back on him saying, what the hell happened to you? The John Cena I want to face at WrestleMania it's not this. And he basically looked at like John Cena in the most condescending, like this is a joke way you could look at somebody. And the money line at the end was when he said, the John Cena I want to face is the real John Cena, not this whiny bitch. So you know that John Cena is going to definitely have a retaliation next week because there's no way, despite the fact that he didn't say anything else after Cody said what he said, that he's going to take this line down.
Yeah, I thought there's a lot of things to talk about as far as this goes, and the Cody aspect of it is certainly one of them. I want to stick with Cena for 1 second, and the one thing I would have liked to hear from Cena, so there's a lot to say about this. I want to kind of chunk it and keep it organized here in my mind. Is when did he start feeling this way? How long along the path of his journey of he didn't want to bring up Make-A-Wish, but, being the smiling guy, hustle with respect, slapping hands with kids, all of that. I kind of want a timestamp. Like, did he go, I just realized it when I saw how all of you dropped me and went to Cody? Or I realized it when you guys started cheering someone as despicable as Roman Reigns? Or I started noticing it 4 years ago. Or all along it was building up, but it took me forever because the cash was pouring in, which works a little bit against what did you ever give me. But as the cash was pouring in, I got wrapped up in the moment. But when I got away from you guys, I realized I didn't like you at all. I liked the money you paid for my merch. Thank you. So basically, I'm not trying to cut a promo for him, but I'm trying to, like, somewhere in there, it's just my curiosity. I don't think it'll make a difference in selling the match, but my curiosity is on this evil John Cena story here, the heel John Cena. When did he come to this realization? Did you get a sense from the way he framed things, Kurt, when that was?
I think it was one of two different places. Either one, when he first started doing movies and TV shows more and wrestling less, that was probably one place where it started. Or I think it may have started during his initial feud with The Rock when they had those WrestleMania series together, because he was the one who was always clowning The Rock for, not caring and just coming part-time and coming and going. And despite the fact that he was calling The Rock out so much for that, the crowd still cheered The Rock more over him for the majority of that feud. So that could maybe be another place where he could, dive into in order to give an explanation for his actions.
Yeah. And so, I mean, they can still do it. In fact, I wouldn't have minded if Cody had asked that question, but Cody's, it's not Cody's job to be a journalist and go, let me figure out your origin story as a villain. But nevertheless, I would have liked that. Going to the Cody promo, I thought Cody was really good. This is one of those things where there's a lot of direction. There's a lot to play with here. There's a lot you can have Cena's initial heel promo be. There's a lot what Cody's response can be. And I thought this was one of many really good options they had to work with. And I was fearful that Cena, his facial expressions I wouldn't buy them. Like they'd be over the top, or he would try to be something that felt unnatural and kind of phony and put on, or he would do what The Rock's been doing, which is, well, I want to play a heel on TV, but I don't want anyone to confuse that with me actually being a bad guy in real life in terms of movie executives. This was Cena going all in. So I really give him credit for that. I like that a lot. So with Cody, I wouldn't have minded Cody defending the fans a little bit more than he did in the face of Cena. I think there's more material there. However, there's plenty of time for that. That's the thing. I mean, they're going to be in the same building next week, so it's not like this is their last chance or anything like that. But in terms of the integrity of Cody's character going forward, I want to make if I'm WWE, if I'm Cody Rhodes, I want to make sure that, yes, Cody retorts Cena, but he also stands up to the fans, and he also stands up for going through now what Cena went through in the past. And I think Cody has something to work with. It's dangerous. He's got to be careful if he does this, but talk about how the fans don't have a love-hate relationship with me. Do you ever wonder, Cena, why that was, and why, because Cody has a history with AEW and a little bit in WWE, very little. So you have to be careful, but there could be something where Cody's like, what you speak of is your fault because I'm not facing that. And I wonder if there's a way to bring that up too. Kurt, your thoughts on my thoughts on things that could have been added? And also, is there anything as you look back? I mean, it's only a couple hours ago and we're watching Raw up until a few minutes ago. Was there anything, do you think there's any other talking points that they had that you'd like to see either Cena or Cody touch on as we go forward?
Well, one thing they didn't bring up, which was surprising, was The Rock. Considering that The Rock was the one that got Cena to turn, at least the way it seemed. I'm kind of surprised that Cena didn't bring it up, and even Cody didn't bring it up. Yeah. And also another thing I kind of feel like was somewhat missing from this segment is maybe more of a back and forth between Cody and Cena, where Cena takes a shot at him, then Cody takes a shot back at him and flips it. That's kind of what I was expecting in this segment. Although I liked it, I still had no complaints. It would have been nice if we saw more of that, but maybe they're saving that for next week, or maybe the go home Raw to WrestleMania. But regardless, we definitely need to see more of that back and forth between them, because that is definitely one element of this storyline that needs to be implemented, with Cena basically being the dude on his way out and going into his retirement phase, and Cody being the one to take the baton from him. To not play on that at all is a mistake. But considering the role they're on right now, and from the segment we saw tonight, I think they will capitalize on it at some point. Just got to be patient.
Why do you think they didn't bring up The Rock? What and how important is that? Either is it helpful or hindrance to it, considering Rock? The story is Cena sold his soul to The Rock to get this after Cody turned him down.
Yeah, it is really strange why they wouldn't have brought it up, considering he was the catalyst of it. I'm thinking maybe they're saving it for another time, or maybe The Rock is out of the storyline now. We don't know about it, which I doubt. But regardless, yeah, they definitely kind of missed it when they didn't mention The Rock's name. because yeah, he's kind of the centerpiece of it in a sense.
I'm even if it doesn't make sense to not bring up Rock, I'm kind of fine with it. I mean, I don't know that including him in it especially in this first promo is helpful. I mean, is it not tying up a loose end? I mean, is it something that obviously, if this was a scripted show, should have been brought up? You know, like if you really meticulously, you know, you're one writing team, all of the same mindset, same vision, and there's this catalyst who's making this happen. Of course, you'd bring them up. But I mean, kind of given the politics of everything and just the fact that it's going to be Cody versus Cena in the match, I'm okay with him not being the shadow cast over. People are thinking more about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson being the final boss, you know, wink, nod, bad guy. And instead, we just get this to be about Cena's story. Cena as this babyface, turning heel. It's all about Cena. The focus is on him. And that was one of my concerns going into this, is the John Cena heel turn should not feel subservient or second billing to anything The Rock is doing. So I like the choice, but I find it curious, and I understand why some people would be like, wait, wasn't there a big star, the biggest star in the world, according to the video that Rock made sure played during Elimination Chamber? Is this like what happened to him? So I can understand people expecting it to be talked about, but I'm glad for the sake of Cena's legacy and finally turning heel that this is about Cena and his issues, not what Rock tempted him with.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, at the end of the day, The Rock is still the part-time guy. The Rock, I don't know how he got implemented into this in the first place when it didn't even seem like he was going to be a part of WrestleMania. But whatever, at the end of the day, it's still working. But overall, like you said, it is better to keep the focus on Cena and his reasons for turning heel, and also the Cena and Cody story, because that's the main thing that is selling WrestleMania. The Rock is involved to a degree, but in all honesty, despite the fact that he's kind of the reason why Cena turned heel from what we saw at Chamber, he is kind of like the odd person out, and that's the way it should be.
Yep. We'll introduce some chat comments in a minute. I'll read them and I'll respond to them. Let's pause here and introduce ourselves in the show briefly, and then we'll introduce chat comments about this. We also have other topics to get to on the show, including the women's title contract signing, the Intercontinental title main event, the return of Corey Graves, and more.
Yes, out of the doghouse.
What's that? Out of the doghouse? Yeah. Or at least available to go to Europe. I don't know. Maybe he's going to go back to the doghouse after the trip. I don't know. He did well tonight. This is the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show for Monday, March 17th, 2025. I'm Wade Keller, host of the show. I'm the editor, publisher, and founder of the long-running Pro Wrestling Torch weekly newsletter, dating back to the late 1980s. When I was in high school, I started covering pro wrestling as a hobby. Did it throughout my college years. Graduated college. It's my full-time job. Had enough subscribers to support a business, and have been on a wild ride since then with so much media. Launched our website, PWTorch.com, in 1999. That has news updates every day, flashback articles, live TV and pay-per-view coverage, and special guest articles and contributors with great commentary, which we'll be getting to momentarily. And also, we got in the podcasting realm over 20 years ago. Before the word podcasting was a word, we were doing what we called audio shows for our subscribers on PWTorch's members section. And we continue to podcast now, not only on the podcast format, but also live on YouTube starting last year on a weekly basis, several times a week. We are live on the PWTorch YouTube channel after Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown, and also after PLEs and pay-per-views on weekends. So if you are not on YouTube a lot, but you want to be part of the live show experience and you're listening to us on the audio side of things, just go to YouTube and search PWTorch. Subscribe to that channel for free. Set up notifications so you know when we go live, although it is after Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown. Whenever Raw ends, we are live. We also, if you're watching us on YouTube, have podcasts, and our podcast feeds have more content than is available on YouTube. And it's super simple to get our podcast. Search Wade Keller in Apple Podcasts and Spotify, whatever app you use on Android or iOS. Just search Wade Keller. Subscribe to both the Red Logo Show, which are these post shows, and the Blue Logo Show, which is our main podcast feed, such as the weekly flagship. Zach Haydorn, by the way, who just interviewed Stone Cold Steve Austin for Sports Illustrated, a former PWTorch contributor, will be with me, former assistant editor at PWTorch, in fact, will be with me on the flagship tomorrow. That is not on YouTube, so if you're mainly getting our content through YouTube, be sure to check us out on the podcast side of things. Search Wade Keller, subscribe to the Red and Blue Logo Show. A lot of exclusive content there, not available on YouTube. While you are at it, search PWTorch on your podcast app to subscribe to the PWTorch Daily Cast. Different hosts, different themes every day of the week. And filling in on the Acknowledging WWE branded show is today's co-host, Kurt Cadet, who, along with Chris Adams, are recording the weekly Acknowledging WWE program as Javier Machado is taking a brief break from the show just for a few weeks. Kurt, welcome to the show. Tell people about your contributions, both the podcast side, which is newer, and the written side.
Yes, currently I write weekly reviews for Monday Night Raw about the different feuds going on in the show. I've been basically doing that since November. I also host my other podcast on the side called Clash of Champions. And over the last few weeks, I have been co-hosting a show with Chris Adams about different WrestleMania themes because it's WrestleMania season.
Yes.
But for the first 2 episodes, we did one about the best builds to matches for WrestleMania. For the most recent episode we did top matches that should have happened at WrestleMania that never did. And for our next episode, I think you guys are going to love this one very much, the best endings to a WrestleMania. Because as we all know, endings is the main last memory you walk from these WrestleManias that make the difference of it being a good show or a disappointing show. So look out for that episode. We'll be dropping later this week.
Excellent. Yes. So that's on the PWTorch Daily Cast feed. All you've got to do is search PWTorch, and the logo will pop up. It has Javier on it because he's the main host that's on our screen right now on YouTube, Acknowledging WWE. But Javier is away for a few weeks, and so Kurt and Chris are taking that over with WWE-themed shows. I love what you guys did with the format. I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
And that had to be a lot of fun to relive those memories and talk to each other about your shared and different thoughts on the answers to your questions.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Chris is great. Don't get Chris Adams mistaken with Chris Adams, the wrestler. This is different Chris Adams.
Yep.
And yeah, we've had some great conversations. Alive. Yes, he is alive.
That's a key. That's one of the big differences.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And yeah, we've been having a lot of fun just talking about past WrestleManias. It's funny that Chris kind of didn't really start watching wrestling again until about 2 years ago. So he's kind of like still relatively new back into the wrestling game. So it's kind of fun discussing certain things with him that he kind of missed out on that I saw. So yeah, it's been a great dynamic. And especially the most recent episode we did about the main WrestleMania matches that didn't happen. Yeah, it's just a shame that some of those matches were literally right in front of WWE on a silver platter. And for whatever reason, they blew it. And you won't be surprised that what my number one pick was, but you got to listen to the show.
Excellent. So we would love to hear from our VIP members and Patreon supporters. If you are watching us live, you can email us at wadekellerpodcast@gmail.com. And you can also join us as a video or audio caller. And that is exclusive for VIP members and Patreon supporters. You can find the link in my TV report at pwtorchvip.com or go to Patreon if you're a Patreon supporter and look for the alert there. And we have someone in the chat who was at the show, which is kind of cool, getting some in-person notes. He noted that they couldn't hear John Cena's promo. It was really hard to understand, which is a bummer. Yeah, that will, I'm sure, be hearing more from people who are at the show. It is fun to be here in the afternoon. It's weird. Like Kurt and I joked with Kurt. It's like it's light outside for the post show. I'm not used to that. And I have like a rare, and I mean that word, rare Monday night free. Raw's been on the air for so long, and I'm always covering it live for the website or for podcasting. So we know we have some different live viewers today, and so the chat room will have some new personalities, including Jack Reeve, who says, "Hi, a very rare chance for me to be here live, thanks to the show finishing at 10 p.m. or so UK time, unlike the usual 1 a.m. start and 3 to 4 a.m. finish. So I never get to watch wrestling live." So it's a different time for different people in different parts of the world, and that's good. Sadler version 3 said, "Yeah, I've been loving these early shows." Kyle Fassel said, "This feels wrong." And then Dougie Doug said, "Yeah, I was confused when I saw the notification you were going live and the sun was still out." Jack Reeve adds, "It's nice to see WWE catering to all fans with the flexibility of Netflix. I've watched more live wrestling this past 2 years than I have 30 years before. Enjoyed the show. Good opening, okay middle, and decent end." And Jack also points out Wade gets a night off every Monday for 3 weeks. That is true. And Dougie Doug also adds, Wade's dog is going to be so confused. Yeah, dogs know your patterns. I mean, they know what to expect and what not to expect. And yeah, he's going to be excited when I'm not podcasting tonight and staring at a TV screen. An extra evening walk for him, I guess. Kyle says, "What are you going to do tonight?" I don't know. I mean, it's St. Patrick's Day, so I might go out. I might like read a book or something. I might sit at my computer and work, but not watch Raw. I have some flexibility. We'll see what I am in the mood for. One negative comment, JC Scooby. I hate these shows live in the afternoon. But Lee says, I get to watch the post show rather than listen the following Tuesday morning. All right, as Cena would say, enough about you people. Let's talk about more about Raw. And we got some callers we'll get to momentarily too. Again, if you're a VIP member, Patreon supporter, and you normally can't join us live late at night, this is your chance to join us. And you don't have to be on camera. You can turn your camera off and just be an audio caller too. But we'd love to hear from some new names who might have a chance to join us today. I know most people are in the United States or in their car on their way home right now from work or not quite done with work yet. So let's go to some comments here in the chat that I marked, and we'll just kind of respond to them a little bit rapid fire, Kurt, and hear from some other people.
Sounds good.
Yeah, Sports Talk Podcast says the only thing I disliked about the promo was Cena saying baby face and heel. Otherwise, a good promo. And I'm glad he brought that up. I mean, it's worth mentioning. I got a little nervous because I'm like, is this going to be like when Triple H says, heel and baby face? Like, to me, that feels like it's kind of the new era work. I'm going to make the fans think they're one of us by saying an insider term on television completely needlessly. And they're going to think I'm one of the honest promoters because I'm willing to use insider jargon, and they're going to mark out for me and be so excited and appreciative that I respect them and I think they're at my level. I find it so patronizing. And I think it's thinly veiled, and I think a lot of people will see through it. Other people will be like, it's so cool. Triple H isn't trying to work us anymore. No, it's a new work. He is. I don't think it's a big deal, but I don't think he gets credit for it. I think it's just sort of pointless and transparently pandering. However, in the context of a promo from John Cena, I kind of liked it. And some people will be surprised when I say that because normally I don't like that stuff. But the terms, I mean, it is 2025, Kurt. People know those terms. Not everybody is an insider fan. Some people watch WWE. They don't think about it again until it's on again a week later. I'm that way with a lot of my forms of entertainment. There's TV series I watch. I love them. But when the show's over, I don't give it a second thought. I'm not on Reddit. I'm not listening to podcasts about it. I just go on with my life, and I look forward to it the next week. That's most pro wrestling fans, by the way. Believe it or not, the percentage of people on social media hitting refresh and all that, it is relative. It is a less than half fraction of the audience based on any kind of data we get. But that said, people kind of know those terms. And Cena saying it, I think, has an effect that Paul Levesque is going for, and I find doesn't work, which is, yeah, I played a role for you. Because part of the narrative structure of his promo is I was playing the role I was supposed to play, and you guys bought my merch and did all the stuff, but you didn't like me as much as you should have, but I played the role. And using the insider term, and this is where I don't like the phrase "the exception that proves the rule" because I don't really understand it. People say it a lot, I think wrongly, but this might be a case of an exception proving the rule. I don't know. But to me, this works because as long as you don't do it a lot, it's like saying bitch all the time. It's like if you say it all the time, it loses its edge. What's the point? Everyone's trying to be cool. But if you raise your voice all the time, it loses its edge. You're just yelling for no reason. But if you do things selectively and in a very particular context, it can mean a lot if it isn't done a lot otherwise. And I think Cena landed this in a way. I don't think it's a big deal either way. I understand people going, don't do that. It distracted me from what was an otherwise very believable promo. But I mean, babyface, it's a term that goes back more than 100 years. It's just kind of an old school way, because it was in wrestling, you could tell who the good guy and bad guy were because the good guy had a literal babyface and the bad guy was, looked mean. It was just a descriptive term used back in when face heel dynamic was even simpler 150 years ago. Or 100 years ago. So there's a carnival history to it. I'm fine with it. Kurt, what do you think?
Yeah, I was fine with it too, because at the end of the day, him mentioning babyface and heel kind of led to a point where he said, I'm not a babyface, I'm not a heel, I'm a human being. And you guys treated this human being poorly for 20 years and no more. I've had enough of it. So in that regard, I feel like him mentioning those terms, it made sense. I don't think it was anything for him to look cool or for him to kind of like act like he's like better than other people because he can use those words. I feel like it fit perfectly with the promo. Some people might feel differently about it. That's their prerogative to feel that way. But for me, it only added to it. And I also like the fact that he pointed out the fact that he's been a puppet all these years, just going out and doing what he's like told to do and what he's supposed to do, because that's exactly the vibe I got from John Cena when I first started watching wrestling again after I stopped for 6 years. Because that was like around the time of the first Rock and Cena feud going into WrestleMania 28. And I just became turned off by John Cena because I just felt like he was fake, he was phony, he was putting on an act. And now 13 years later, he finally admits it. Thank God. He finally admits it. He's finally interesting in a way he has not been interesting in a very long time. And I'm just waiting to see what happens next, because after what Cody said to him tonight, after Cody basically bitched him out in a sense, Cena has to come out swinging. He has to make the beatdown he gave Cody at Elimination Chamber look like a vacation compared to what he has in store for him next week. I think he's going to probably bring in Travis Scott and mess up his other eye.
Derek Hubbard in the chat says, I would stick to the time-tested words hero and villain. Those are proper descriptors without feeling like pandering insider terms. And I totally would have been fine with that too. I get why Cena did it. I think he can get away with babyface and heel a little bit more. I don't want to hear it again on TV for the next 10 years. But for reasons Kurt said and some of the reasons that I pointed out, I think this is an exception that's acceptable for me when normally I just roll my eyes at any attempt at wrestlers trying to pander to fans with insider terms that kind of breaks the fourth wall in a way. Kyle Fassel says, I did not like the heel and face thing. Jack Reeves said, me too. Lee in the chat says, Kurt is right. He went all in and actually it felt right. He couldn't break kayfabe, but he did it without doing it. He pushed it all back to the fans like he should have. Sports Talk Podcast adds, that's a good point, Kurt. I hope they go overboard. Don't go overboard. I think it means like Wade said. And Derek concedes. With that said, using the words did not undermine the promo. And that's kind of where I'm like, I can understand teetering. Like, I would have done without it. Didn't ruin the promo. I think it added a little bit, but it wasn't essential. I think there's like this, I know it's not good for podcasting to take extreme sides on something, but I think you can kind of, anyone who says it was essential for the promo or ruin the promo, they're wrong. That's my controversial take. This was fine if they did it, fine if they didn't. I didn't think it hurt. Didn't think it helped a ton. It just was what it was, and it was fine. Okay, so let's go back to another topic here, because there's a variety of things I want to say about this promo that I know the chat is getting into it. Getting into those topics. Corey Dallas Standing says, blaming the fans after a heel turn is tired, but it makes Cena more than any other wrestler, so I'm all in on it. Another comment regarding that, Joshua White says, I like Cena's promo, and the crowd was 100% there for it. Blaming the fans, very novel approach, Cena. I don't know if he's being sarcastic or not, because a lot of people who turn from babyface to heel insult the fans and blame them for it. The blaming the fans, I guess this is the area that we covered quite a bit. I was going to add another point to it, but blaming the fans. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I like Michael Cole pointing out afterwards that John Cena wasn't blaming the fans when he was making millions of dollars. It was the fans who made him millions. It's the fans who made him a 16-time champion. It was the fans who made him a movie star. It was their support for him. And Cole, who, by the way, I did not like Cole at the beginning going, we need to give this guy, he's earned the benefit of the doubt. I would have been okay with that if Cena's beatdown of Cody Rhodes wasn't so severe. But that beatdown was so severe. I think the last 2 weeks, everybody should have been more angry with Cena than they were on TV since the turn. I think on Cody should have been more upset. And I think if you do an angle that severe, that brutal of a beatdown, I don't think you just sort of act like, oh, that was mean what Cena did. Like that. So they wanted a couple things. They wanted to get the effect of the beatdown to be so shocking. I can't believe I saw Cena like that. But they also wanted to spend a couple episodes of Raw having everyone kind of go, well, let's wait to hear from him before we judge. And I think if they wanted that, they should have not had the beatdown be so brutal. And frankly, I voted for that at the time. I think Cena could have turned heel in a way that would have been clear he turned heel, but didn't get quite that much of a beating in on Cena. But so I didn't like Cole saying, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. I think Cole should have made up his mind already, given what he did to Cody. But I really like Cole afterwards. And I think somebody needed to say the obvious, which is, John Cena, you say that the fans did nothing for you and took. You are a 16-time champion millionaire movie star, and that's because of the fans. So you can't say it was all take and no give. Kurt, your thoughts on that?
Well, technically, as far as his 16 titles, it was Vince McMahon who gave him that, not the fans, technically.
But Kurt, I will say this: Vince will. People will laugh and say there's exceptions to this, and I get it, because Roman Reigns was pushed as a babyface and fans rejected him. But Vince doesn't push people he doesn't think can draw money for him, and so it was the fan support for Cena, actually paying to see him and reacting to him, cheers or boos. Ostensibly, that's why he got pushed, as the fans cheered him, thus Vince pushed him. So you can kind of bake that in, I think, if you want.
Yeah, I get it. But yeah, that's definitely a good point that the fans like paid all the money to see Cena, whether they were going to cheer him or whether they were going to boo him, or they bought his merchandise, or they went to go see whatever movie he did or anything along those lines. Yeah, regardless of whether you were a fan of Cena or you did not like Cena, you always responded to Cena. And the fact that he got those responses, whether positive or negative, and the fact that he was just so relevant that way, that was in a sense because of the fans. But I mean, he at the same time had great points about why he was upset with them the way that he was, and why he didn't want to cater to them the way he's catered to them for so long. So in that regard, he definitely had every right to lash out at them, every right to say what he said to them. And as far as what he says next or what he does next, it's definitely going to make next week's Raw a lot more interesting than it would have been otherwise.
There's a lot to follow up on, and then we can inevitably we'll get to some of our thoughts on what comes next. We already talked about some things that might be good to bring up as a follow-up, and frankly, they're going to be looking at social media reaction, podcast and YouTube show reaction, people they trust for their views, and they're going to get ideas of how to fill the next month of TV, or the next couple of weeks, especially going back and forth on this. To my point, though, about Cole, like looking at the camera at the top of the show going, I think with Cena's background, we owe him the benefit of the doubt. I just want to underline, Cena kicked Cody in the crotch, hit him over and over and bloodied him with brass knuckles, and hit him with a title belt. And I mean, it's like, I think you're beyond the benefit of the doubt there. That's the one sort of logic flaw in Cole is how could you give the benefit of the doubt to Cena having done that, unless, like, what is he going to say? Rock drugged me and I was on drugs. I mean, like, no, there's no explanation that would explain Cena doing that. So, but you needed to say, the fans, Cena gave a version of events that was not entirely clear or not entirely fair and balanced. But Cena's got a point, and you can't. There's a level of, it's sort of like a Drew McIntyre in his case. You understand Cena thinking, wait a second, you guys cheered me and booed me. Let's go Cena. Cena sucks. There's a lot of booing from the guys, especially over the years. And I think he had to incorporate that into, he didn't have to, but I'm glad he did. And I think it was an obvious thing to do, which is, as a heel, acknowledge that the fans, for years and years and years and years, a big section of them didn't like him. What I thought was really interesting, though, is Cena did an effective job. And I thought this was one of the really smart aspects of the promo, going, it's not just the fans who were booing me I didn't like. It's the fans who were cheering me who are part of the problem, too. Because what you don't want is people going, oh, yeah, those mean fans who booed Cena all those years, I get Cena being mad at them. I'm not quite sure why he's taking it out on Cody, but I get what Cena's saying. But he loves me because I always cheered him. I think he needed to cover that base, going, if you cheered me, I got an issue with you too. And I thought that was smart, because what's totally clear right now is Cena wants 100% boos, and he wants Cody to get 100% cheers. And I say it all the time. The number one job of a heel is to put the babyface over. Doesn't mean there aren't other important tasks, but as a heel, it's not your job to get over, to sell merchandise, to get chance, to get star ratings or social media buzz. Your job is to make sure fans are cheering the babyface and they want to see that babyface win. Doesn't mean they always win, but your job is to make sure the fans want to see the babyface win and they cheer him on that journey. Anything less than that, you're not doing your job as a heel. You're in some confused other area of what pro wrestling should be that is a lot less effective than historically what draws the most money, with that rare, infrequent super match, Ultimate Warrior Hulk Hogan, that type of thing where it's like a pick'em. That should be few and far between and a novelty, not part of the core booking philosophy. I thought Cena showed an awareness of that, and I thought it was really good he built that in. Kurt, you want to say anything to that?
Yeah, kind of what this feud is reminding me of right now is like Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant from WrestleMania 3, where Andre the Giant had been a good guy for so many years, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he turns on Hogan, and it kind of like creates a different dynamic for the match, a different kind of anticipation for the match. So in this case, it kind of reminds me of that where Cena turns heel out of nowhere, and I guess he has a resentment towards Cody Rhodes, and it's kind of giving a different dynamic to their match at WrestleMania as opposed to a good guy versus good guy match. So yeah, it definitely reminds me more of that than the heel turn that Hogan did back in '96. And yeah, he definitely needed to call out the fans who cheer him also, because if he's really going to go all in on this heel run and be like the most hated, despised figure in the entire company, he has to have not one person cheering him. Just like tonight, from the time his music hit and he came out, it was nothing but boos, nothing but fuck you Cena chants, nothing but we hate you Cena, all that jazz. They did the let's go Cena sucks thing in the beginning for a while, which was actually pretty dope. I actually liked how they kind of did it as long as they did. But yeah, in this promo, John Cena, even though he might have had valid points in what he said, just the way he came off and like just the expression on his face, he had no redeeming qualities. And that's the most important quality in any heel, any bad guy, any villain on television. No redeeming qualities to the point where you want to see them get their comeuppance. And we need to see more of that from Cena in the coming weeks.
Very well said. Another point in the chat bringing up that the chat is bringing up is, what about getting physical, a beatdown of some kind? I mean, the Cena beat Cody with brass knuckles and a title belt and kicked him in the balls. So I mean, you would think Cody would not be as restrained as he was. Cody knows he's got him in the ring. I did like, by the way, Cody going, I was looking forward to one respected legend facing another from two generations, wrestling at WrestleMania with honor. I mean, I think that it's good for Cody to mention, even in passing, not as like this thing he's mourning and will never get over, but acknowledge he was looking forward to something that Cena took away. John Cena took away from Cody Rhodes and the fans, something that now on a meta sense, some fans would go, that would be boring. I wouldn't have wanted to watch that. I'd say, let's see it play out. I mean, you can't judge it until it happened, but now we'll never know. But Cody should be lamenting the character, lamenting at least in passing, like, yeah, you took something away I was looking forward to, and now I get this version. What do you think about the lack of physicality, Kurt, about them getting into a fight? Was it too restrained of Cody to have done that?
The only explanation I could maybe come up with why Cody was so calm is maybe he smoked some weed before he came out.
Yeah.
Or maybe his wife was there and gave him a kiss before he went out, so that calmed his nerves or whatever it was. Yep. But regardless of that, even though he came off like maybe a little calm, and maybe he should have been like, ready to throw hands with Cena, the fact that he cut Cena off when Cena tried to call him kid, and the fact that he called him a little bitch at the end of the promo, that was more than enough. Yep. Sometimes the way to get back at your enemies and get even with them, not necessarily is with physical retaliation. Sometimes it's with what the words you say. And from the words Cody said to Cena tonight, I mean, you can't really hurt anybody any worse than that, at least for now.
Lee says, for a brutal beatdown, Cody then came out with his full entrance with step slaps. I don't get it. Cena stood there. I thought it was a little, I would have made a different choice than Cody did, coming to the ring, slapping hands and smiling. I would have maybe acknowledged the fans and not like ignored them, but kind of had this is all business. This is different than normal body language. That's a critique I have, a choice he made. I think he wanted the contrast of I'm still here for the fans. And I'm going to smile and be that person that John Cena thinks the fans didn't appreciate enough about him. What about that, just tone-wise? We've talked a lot about Cena. We talked some about Cody, obviously, here. How do you think Cody did overall?
Yeah, I think he did fine. We were all waiting for this for the last week or so. This is definitely a lot better than what we got on Raw last week and also on SmackDown last week. At least we actually got to see the two of them together. And yeah, just from the time Cody cut Cena off and told him to be quiet as Cena was trying to talk, yeah, you definitely knew that he meant business. Could he maybe have been more aggressive when he came out and maybe had like a mean look on his face when he came out? Perhaps, but like I said, just everything he said to Cena here, it had to make Cena pissed off enough where he's going to need to retaliate in a vicious way next week. So with that being said, I think it definitely accomplished what it needed to. I've looked at this segment between the two of them as more of an appetizer, like a really light appetizer, and we'll get maybe the heavier appetizers before we get to the main course of WrestleMania.
So a few more chat room comments on the physicality aspect of it. Sadler Vision 3 said there's way too many attacks in WWE, so I'm fine with no physicality. Maybe they should have had security out there, though, to make it feel like there was more of a chance of it. Kyle Fassel said, does that say how well-rounded Cody is mentally, though? Time has passed since the beatdown. I think him not getting physical shows restraint. Derek Hubbard said, I like the fact that Cody maintained his composure. He showed emotion while maintaining dignity. Good fella 1422 said, let the anticipation build. Plus, he's not going to stoop to Cena's level. The match is scheduled. He'll get in his licks there. JC Scooby 1976. Cody not attacking Cena after what he did to him makes Start hated Cody like he did with Cena all these years. Little typo in there. I'm not sure quite what he's doing. And 3D Prince this week said, I think Cena wants to be the heel he wishes he would have had to go against. BJF says, logically, you'd think Cody would just want physical revenge, but I preferred what they did here. Cody wanted answers to address this new Cena. I don't want any physicality until Mania. I think there is absolutely something to be said about saving the physicality until WrestleMania. I think too often wrestlers you want to see get their hands on each other so much on TV. The novelty of seeing it once the bell rings officially isn't there anymore. And I think it'd be good. And I know, like, you know, AW does this a lot, you know, in WWE too. Like, I thank you for your professionalism. Thank you for not fighting. You have agreed to no physicality, they'll say, or having security there and keeping them separate. That's done a lot. So it's not like everybody always fights in every segment, but there is something about having to wait to see Cody get his licks in. And I like that. It just, the question is, a turn of this nature and a beatdown of that nature, does it seem realistic that Cody would maintain his dignity? And does it make him, I don't know, would some fans question Cena not like being dignified and taking his time and waiting another month to do it, given how riled up they were? Shouldn't Cody be more riled up about what Cena did? Not just turning heel and not just insulting the fans, but the physicality at Elimination Chamber. And also, and I thought Cody was good, but I could see some fans going, I kind of wanted a more impassioned Cody come into the defense of us after what Cena said about us. But again, this is the first promo with those two. I think we can see that in coming weeks. Kurt.
Yeah, like I said, the best is probably still yet to come. We still have another 4.5 weeks until WrestleMania, so I'm sure they're saving a lot of that for those next few weeks. And as far as keeping them apart, I remember the one time that really did work was for the Stone Cold and Triple H match from No Way Out 2001. I feel like it worked better with that feud because there was like more like personal issues, more intensity, like more incidents like where they did have physicality. So it was nice to get a break from it. But in this case, we've only really had like one incident of physicality between them. So to kind of have that rule all the way until WrestleMania, I don't think that's realistic. And especially after what Cody said to Cena this week, you know Cena's going to have some kind of retaliation physically next week. I think he's going to probably put him through the announce table, probably bloody him up again, put him in the STF. Maybe he'll start like renaming his names the FU and the STFU again. Maybe he'll bring those back. So yeah, we're definitely going to be seeing some more physicality in the next few weeks. There's no way that they're going to hold off until Mania.
Well, Luke said, in fairness to Cody, he didn't do the what do you want to talk about. That tells me he was more serious. So in a way, even slapping hands with fans, getting right to business, did help. And BJF said, yeah, great point, Lee. No time for catchphrases and pandering, straight to, and he said, I meant great point, Luke. And he went right to addressing Cena. 3D Prince this week says, the ultimate heel move would have been Cena coming out and acting like nothing was different or nothing happened. Honestly, I mean, in the last couple of weeks, we've had a lot of time to speculate on different ways Cena would act. New gear, new outfits. Would he be sort of, don't take this seriously like The Rock, or would he be, take it seriously? What do you think about a troll promo where he just comes out and not has amnesia, but sort of willing amnesia, like, X, why are you booing me? At least at the start. Or is that just too cute and and sort of a distraction from the momentum they have from Cena genuinely turning? And because in a way, I almost feared he would want to be kind of cute in that way, as opposed to just treating this like in the context, in the canon of WWE real life.
Yeah, I think promos like that you should save more for MJF. I feel like MJF succeeds in that more. But with what Cena did, with Cena turning heel for the first time in over 20 years, it had to be more of the tone that we got tonight as opposed to a joking around, messing around kind of tone. Yeah, that wasn't going to fit in this scenario. So I'm glad that he did not do that. And yeah, I guess he really likes those clothes. He's been wearing those damn clothes for 20 years. So I guess he really likes them and he feels comfortable. So we're going to have to deal with it.
Yep. Let's see. Jack Reeves said, I like the Cena t-shirt. Don't own Cena merch myself, but But using his own logic, why would Cena want us to buy new merch? If it is, I hate you, but I love your money. Yeah, I'm curious, Kurt. What do you think the trend is going to be for Cena merch sales and crowd reactions to Cena after tonight? Was there anything that Cena did? And he's fine, he's rich, but he likes to. I mean, it's sort of it's a game to people who are really rich to just make more money and beat their last quarter or beat a rival. It's like when Mitt Romney ran for president, he got in trouble because he offered someone a $10,000 bet, and people said, "Well, that shows how touchy he is. Who bets $10,000 over something? Whether you're right or wrong about something." And it's like, no, say $10 bet. If you want to relate to people. So in the sense of Cena and the merchandise, I'm not worried, and I don't think John Cena, the person, should be worried about hurting his merch sales. And I say this a lot, like the idea that a booker would ever make a booking decision against his instincts because he wants to protect merch sales, I think is chasing pennies and dimes are dropping out of your pocket. You should just slot people the right way, and people have X amount of merch money they're going to spend. And if you put people who they like in babyface positions, they're going to buy merch for whoever is on the stand, whoever is featured on your page, and getting main event matches. So hopefully that's not an issue with Cena. But is there going to be a wave of people, and is it going to be a sizable wave, Kurt, of people going, I want to wear Cena merchandise? And it's not going to be the hideous colors. It's going to be something more presentable than neon. But yeah, I kind of ironically want to wear them and show, not even that I'm a Cena fan, but I appreciate in some meta sense that this heel turn finally happened.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll have some fans who still buy his merchandise and all that jazz. And honestly, from them doing that, they're proving everything he said tonight. Yeah. Basically, that you guys are ridiculous. You guys don't appreciate anything, and that right when I'm mean to you, right when I'm not nice to you, then you want to cheer. So if they start buying his merchandise and putting more money in his pocket, they're going to prove his point. He can come out and make fun of them for that.
In the chat, Michael Trainer says, Cody not attacking Cena took me out of the moment. After the attack at Elimination Chamber, Cody should have immediately attacked Cena, not waited 20 minutes of listening to Cena's BS. It needed a brawl. I mean, I think that's it's a fair criticism of this, and I'm making it too, that this idea of Cody going, I'm going to hear out Cena. I'm going to give somewhat calm interviews on SmackDown and Raw, or Raw, SmackDown, and Raw again the last couple of weeks, and kind of wait for Cena to show up, and then listen to him talk for 20 minutes before charging to the ring after he kicked me in the crotch and it hit me with brass knuckles, bloodied me, and hit me with a title belt. I mean, it's not ideal. But I think the effect of hearing out Cena and not having physicality overrides the lack of logic to how people would think Cody would act in real life. Ideally, they would have covered that base, and they didn't, but it was close enough.
I think maybe Cena would have. I'm sorry. I think maybe Cody would have came out swinging more than likely if like Cena maybe mentioned something about his mom, like The Rock did last year. Because I remember last year when like The Rock beat up Cody Rhodes outside the arena in Chicago when he hit him with the belt, made him bleed and all that. After that was over, I just said when Cody sees The Rock next, he needs to start throwing hands and beating him up. No talking, no pandering to the audience. He needs to go out and start swinging. So in that regard, I can understand why some people might feel the way they do about this promo where he maybe should have done that here. But like I said before, this is more of the long game, and we got to be patient to see what comes out of it next. And especially from what he said tonight, I think Cena's already hurting more mentally than physically.
Interesting. Sadler version 3 says Cody being calm actually fits his character also. Someone like Stone Cold would have just brawled, which shows differences in characters. And I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, I think there's a lot of wrestlers who would be an egregious error and completely unrealistic if they didn't run out and attack somebody for what they did. Cody does come across as somebody who will take care of business when the time is right in the appropriate setting, WrestleMania.
And also, there's been so many brawls lately. There's been at least like 3 or 4 brawls in the last 2 weeks, so it'd be nice to take a break from those.
Well, and that's part of why you don't want to overdo certain things, so that when it's time to do it, like yelling on a promo, swearing, or having pull-apart brawls, you want to make sure they're memorable by not overdoing them. Heck, same thing for kicking out of a finisher or a signature move. If you just do it over and over again for a pop, there's diminishing returns. It isn't novel when you want to really make it count. Goodfella 1422 adds, it demonstrates resilience, maintains focus. It's champion hero stuff. Very good. We got an email from Chris H in Manchester, UK. Good evening. Living in the UK, it's very rare I watch Raw live and mainly watch highlights throughout the week. I can't help but feel I just wasted about 2 hours of my life. Interesting. For someone who only watches highlights, sitting through 2.5 hours or almost 2.5 hours seems like a waste of time, perhaps. After the Cena Cody segment, I was really disappointed with the show. The women's contract signing was predictable. The matches had a house show feel, and it felt like after the first segment, the show was missing star power. Why did Seth Rollins turn up just to say he's going to Italy? And how is there so little wrestling on a wrestling show? At least we didn't get Belgium celebrities in the crowd. Have a great show.
Yeah, that's true.
So we're going to go to callers next. We'll start with Rude Dog. But Kurt, before we do that, just your quick thoughts on the overall quality of the show. We are in the Netflix era where you get a 2-hour show, not a lot of wrestling, a lot of promotional stuff. And then around the top at the beginning of the third hour, so to speak, almost an overrun, really, you get the main event. That's our format. What do you think of it? And how did this show feel that format for you?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the show pretty much peaked at the very beginning with this promo with Cody and Cena. I think most of us can agree on that. That was the peak of the whole show. The Penta and Ludwig Kaiser match was good, but predictable, but it was still fine. But at least from that, we got the answer of where Penta's going next, which I'll get into in a second. And the women's segment between Bianca, Io Sky and Rhea, it was fine for what it was, but I just feel like it would have made more sense if Rhea came out before they signed the contract as opposed to after. But I guess they have some kind of way they're going to go about telling this story, but we'll see. But then after that point, the 2 or 3 segments after that, the Jey Uso match and the Rey and Dragon Lee match and all that, and the Seth Rollins promo, yeah, that was kind of very missable stuff, to be honest with you. And then the main event was good. The Intercontinental title match was good. So if I have to give the grade to Raw from a scale of an A to an F, I'll give it a B minus, a barely B minus, because that stuff in the middle was kind of a waste, I'll be honest.
Yep. All right, very good. Let's go to our first caller, Rude Dog, Hendrik calling. Rude Dog, good to see you. What's on your mind about tonight's Raw? Eager to hear your thoughts.
No, great to see you and talk to you in the afternoon. It's pretty cool. And Kurt, you did a great job. I listened to Acknowledging WWE, and it was cool hearing where your fandom started off and like where your insights like come from. So that was pretty cool to hear. So I'm looking forward to listening to the rest of the episode.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And so, I mean, obviously this show is all about John Cena and Cody. And I'll just throw my 2 cents in. You guys have been talking about it a lot. Like, I really like Cena didn't change his music or look. Because honestly, what's more of a heel look than what he already has going on right now? You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
Like, I mean, he's looked stupid for years. So, I mean, but I also wonder, I was like, I kind of felt like they were doing Damage Control, like not the wrestling faction, but like whenever like The Rock's involved, like it's, you know, I don't think the wrestlers know what's going to happen next. So maybe John Cena was wearing that gear because they already had it made and had like all this like this stuff made for his like farewell tour, and he was like, well, we already have all these thousands of shirts, you have to you have to wear them anyways because we have to sell them. And
but they got to send them wherever they send the loser t-shirts at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, for
Sorry,
sure.
Chiefs.
But you know WWE's not going to do that. They're going to make every penny they can. But one thing, this might get old real quick, this European tour. I mean, I enjoy the enthusiasm of the European fans, but it gets really tiring with all these chants all the time. Like, it was novel at first when they first started doing live shows overseas, but it just takes so much time and nothing happens. Like, I mean, and I can understand between Cena and Cody, but they did it throughout the night. And when it got really tiresome was Seth Rollins.
Yes.
And he just felt like he was like milking it. Like, wow. Like, you know, I want to get so many people to sing my song forever and ever. And it's just like, dude, you're not even really doing anything here today. Like, so what do you think about the Brussels fans And is it going to be tiresome with these like UK crowds, or not UK, but European crowds, like just chanting for half the show when nothing happens?
Kurt, how you feeling about there used to be a novelty going to Europe as a WWE fan. Like, oh my God, look at this. We're like WWF was such a US based business. And it was really it was small time 30 years ago compared to today. It obviously had WrestleMania 3 and it was big in a lot of ways, but relative to what they are now and the reach they have through social media and international and Netflix and touring and drawing big crowds everywhere, it's less of a novelty to go overseas than it used to be. It used to be like, oh my God, they know who these people are in Europe. They know who Bret Hart is in Europe. Now it's sort of taken for granted. People, especially newer fans, just go, WWE is as big as anything in the world. So does it feel a little self-indulgent to watch WWE give so much time to fans just kind of partying because WWE's cameras are in their city? Or has the novelty not worn off yet, even if it has for Rude Dog? And it is kind of fun vicariously living through fans who are, for the first time in decades, getting to see WWE live in some cases.
I personally like the fans and the interactions and their enthusiasm on Friday on SmackDown, especially, and here tonight. I felt like it more added to the show than took away from it. I mean, granted, I can understand how it could get annoying sometimes. It get old sometimes when they're like kind of like doing a chant in the middle of the match and like you can't really do anything and you can't really kind of focus on what you're doing. I could see how that could be distracting. But honestly, I love the enthusiasm of those fans out there. I want to go to an international show so desperately. Possibly their tickets might be cheaper, so that's another reason why. But yeah, I've been saying it for a while, and I'll say it now. Even the Canadian fans, most of those fans over there, but the fans in the States, to shame. Yeah, those fans really know how to have fun. That's the main thing I noticed about those international crowds. They really know how to have fun. They really love their wrestling, and in many ways, they appreciate their wrestling in a way us American fans sometimes take for granted.
Yep, and I think it's good for American fans. If you're WWE, you like to see that kind of passion for the product that some cities in the United States kind of act like, you were here 4 months ago, and I kind of like the opening hour of Raw better 4 months ago when you're here than now. Like, people start becoming sort of critics when it becomes familiar to them and they feel they're, quote, owed certain things. And by the way, I think fans are owed a lot for the money they pay for tickets these days. But if you go and you're getting a good show, but you're just there to critique it and say, well, the last show was better, you don't get that with European crowds. This is the novelty of popping for Cody Rhodes' entrance for the first time and experiencing the sound and the communal experience that does come through with these great cameras and sound that we have through Netflix. Derek Hubbard says, sometimes the crowd is too about themselves. Tonight, the crowd made the opening segment. They chewed up, savored, and digested exactly what was served. Darrell Freeman says U.S. fans might get tired of the Euro crowds, but I bet worldwide fans get tired of U.S. crowds who try to be smart marks, and they're always looking for the negative in everything, the jaded U.S. fans. So a couple of points of view there. Rude Dog, back to you.
Well, there's raucous crowds in many, U.S. cities, especially at indie shows. Depending on where you go, and it's more about the product and less about you. That's how I'll put it. So anyways, but I did, someone complained about it being live, which I don't understand whatsoever. Like, I found it really refreshing. Like, okay, like Netflix is pretty cool. They're just going to put it on whenever because they're a worldwide company. And, if you don't see it live, you could check it out whenever you want to.
And if you're in the UK, you can watch Raw live. That's what's great. You watch Raw live in the UK tonight. It's not that late. You don't get that novelty very often.
So I thought that was really cool. And I wish, I don't know if USA will ever do it, but it's I think nothing but positive. So I hope. I'm pretty sure Netflix will keep it that way. But so the main event tonight, the Intercontinental Championship match between Finn Balor and Braun. So what do you think about the Judgment Day right now? Like, what's going on? People are. Maybe someone's going to show up. Is Finn going to be gone? Like, I I've been a huge Finn Balor fan for a long time, since he was Prince Devitt, and he's just, not a priority right now, which is fine. That happens. But what happens with him? What happens with the Judgment Day? What do you think?
Well, I didn't buy Dom saying let's bring Penta in, because I don't get why Dom would think Penta would want to join them. He's showing in WWE's narrative no inclination to want to be part of a faction, especially that type of faction. I didn't really buy that. It just felt like it was a chapter in a story they were telling to get Penta involved in the match later. As far as what happens, I mean, I think eventually there'll be somebody new that's added to the Judgment Day, whether it's whatever. It could be, I mean, there's been all kinds of names speculated about. I think that's fine. I mean, I'm patient when it comes to Judgment Day storylines. I don't care if it takes a while to get there. They've got their reasons for pacing it. Kurt, what do you think?
Yep, I said it last week on this show. I've said it in my Raw reviews for weeks, and I'll say it again. Finn Balor's days in the Judgment Day are numbered. That hey, goodbye chant they were doing tonight in the crowd, they're going to be doing that for the night Finn Balor gets kicked out of Judgment Day, especially after what happened tonight where Dominic kind of accidentally cost him the match. He's going to be pissed. He's going to be bringing up that whole extra member of Judgment Day situation that Dominic's been bringing up. And the fact that even Penta came out afterwards, I'm sure that's also going to piss him off too. So yeah, as far as this version of Judgment Day we've been seeing since SummerSlam, it's not going to be around for much longer. And honestly, that's a good thing because they have not been the same since Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley were kicked out. You definitely felt the void of them being gone after they were kicked out. And I like the talent in this group, but let's be real. This does not feel like Judgment Day the way that Judgment Day was before. This is kind of reminiscent of the Four Horsemen, I guess, in a sense, when Paul Roman was the member of it. So yeah, that's basically the tip that Judgment Day's been on. So they definitely need a drastic change, whether it's in leadership, whether it's in look, whatever it may be. Yeah, they're definitely splitting up, and Finn Balor is done.
Goodfella 1422 in the chat said, I think Finn will be kicked out, start his hopeful solo push. Cross could take over Judgment Day. Cross and Dom seen talking as Dakota is walking in. What do you think, Rude Dog?
If Karrion Kross is a leader of Judgment Day, you might as well put them all on future endeavors because that will not go well.
But I think Kross has been better the last couple months. I mean, I think he's getting increasingly good, and for talking segments and being kind of a shitster, I kind of think it fits Judgment, a different incarnation of Judgment Day, not a main event act, but I think it'd be kind of fun. Kurt, what do you think?
You have higher hopes.
Yeah, it could work. I mean, Kross doesn't really have anything else to do anymore now that AOP and Paul Ellering got released. So I guess him being a part of Judgment Day, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. I was going to think Malachi Black, but I think he's going to end up on SmackDown because that's where his wife is. So if he's not going to be a part of Judgment Day and be the new member, I guess Karrion Kross would be a good fit. I mean, he's not really doing anything else other than being the shit stirrer that, you were talking about a few minutes ago. So I guess in a sense, him and I don't know about Scarlett though. That's the thing because Judgment Day already has enough women with Raquel and Liv. So
that could be fun though.
Scarlett fit in.
I mean, that'd be fun. Scarlett, taking some TV time away from Liv, or them bickering just like the men bicker. I mean, I think it's okay to have more than one or two women in Judgment Day if they each have very specific roles and they get on each other's nerves, just like JD gets on Damian Priest's nerves. So I think there's potential there. Well, we'll see. I think they have a plan, and I don't think it's changing. I mean, I just think they're just taking their time getting there. Yeah, Rude Dog, what else?
All right, one last thing because my connection's dying. But so Rhea Ripley was like one of the hottest acts in the company.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they made a turn with her character, and today she was basically acting like a baby, like stealing the contract and signing it, and then goofing around with Adam Pearce backstage. Like, what's going on with her character? And what do you think about where she's going right now?
I wrote in my report covering Raw tonight, the detailed summary of the show. So check that out on PWTorch.com if you haven't, everybody, or PWTorchVIP.com if you're a VIP member for the ad-free version. I wrote in my analysis of that segment, WWE had two wildly popular wrestlers in Belair and Ripley, and in a matter of a few weeks made them both entirely unlikable. Although fans did seem to side with Ripley there, but mostly are backing Sky. I don't think they had anything broken that needed fixing with Rhea. I think they had something tremendous going with Rhea Ripley. And Adam Pearce going, it's like talking to a child. I don't think you can disagree with that. When she goes, well, I put my name on a contract, so that means it's valid. I'm sorry, but if someone's about to sign a contract to buy, a $100,000 luxury vehicle, and I run into the room with the sales guy and the person buying the car, and I sign my name to the contract too, that does not make me co-owner of that vehicle. That's not how it works. And Adam Pearce knows it, and apparently Rhea Ripley doesn't. And it was like talking to a child. I think it's risky. I do not know where it's going, but right now I have my concerns. It's doing damage. The crowd did side with Ripley over Belair, but they mostly like Sky. And I think if you told someone 2 months ago that Sky is going to be more cheered than Belair and Ripley because of brilliant booking, they would go, I think you don't know what brilliant means. Kurt, what do you think?
Yeah, Io Sky was by far the most likable in this whole segment. And yeah, the way that Rhea Ripley came off, bringing up the whole incident when Bianca sat at ringside again for the third week in a row. Yeah, she's really coming off worse and worse. And the fact that she signed the contract literally after it was signed and acting like it's valid and acting like she has a case for being in the match. Yeah, she does really come off like a baby, like Adam Pearce said. Look, if she had signed the contract before Bianca did, kind of how they did like the WrestleMania 20 main event contract signing, that would have been one thing. But the fact that they already signed the match and she came out immediately after trying to sign it herself, yeah, she has no case. But we all know at the end of the day, she's going to be implemented into the match anyway. Because, yeah, from how this is all going, it definitely has three-way written all over it. But yeah, it is a weird direction for her character to go in, considering how popular she is, how hot she is with the audience. But from the way she's playing it and the way she's acting, it is the most interesting in a way that she's been on screen since the peak of her feud with Liv over the summer. So that part of it I'm here for. I really want to kind of still give it a chance to see where it goes and see where it ends up. But yeah, I will say this, Io is definitely not the third wheel in this scenario. Whoever thought that would have been the case going into it, we have seen from last week and also this week, she is definitely not that third wheel, and she is definitely as big of a part of this story as Bianca and Rhea are.
Derek Hubbard said, I don't like what they're doing with Rhea, but I think she'll be fine. A handshake with Io or a nod of respect after their match and all will be forgiven. Io will be better for it. Rhea will recover. Dr. Ross says, I think WWE is planning the triple threat as they want a Ripley win, but they don't want Bianca to lose her WrestleMania undefeated streak.
Now that they bring that up, I think there's no logical conclusion other than Bianca winning that match.
Yeah. Kyle Fassel said they're telling a story. It's human. She's falling apart at the seams and getting desperate. Kyle, I will say how you fall apart at the seams and how you act in times of desperation can define you in a certain way. And I'm with Derek. I think she'll be fine, but we got a month to go. Let's see if they do more damage. But I'll go back to what I said initially. There wasn't anything broken that needed fixing. I don't need complicated shades of gray internal turmoil with baby faces like Hangman Page for someone like Rhea Ripley, who had everything going for her. I think they were just getting started with her being a very straightforward. She's got an alt look. She's cool. She doesn't fit the kind of Barbie doll definition of who often over the years got pushed, the Tori Wilson, Trish Stratus, Kelly types. And fans loved her, and she was super popular, and we're just getting started. I just don't think you mess with it, especially to tell a muddled story like this. So we'll see. Yes, they're in the storytelling business, and she is human, but the way that she's acting while she's falling apart at the seams, I think you have to go to why is she falling apart at the seams, and it's because Bianca dared to say, Io, good luck, go get her. Like, that's what she's flipping out over, and it's like, that's being a child. So, yeah. BJF said, I'm totally on Team Io. Bianca and Rhea are disrespecting to her. That's the thing, too. I mean,
especially tonight.
The pie facing and demeaning her. I don't know. Kyle says, I'm trying to make the best out of what they gave us, but I do agree I would have liked her not losing the title. Well, she can lose the title or not lose it. Just act dignified and like she used to, like the person we got to know instead of this unhinged, petulant overreaction that she's become. Rude Dog, anything else you want to bring up before we sign off with you?
Yeah, I mean, just last talk about Rhea. Like, I mean, before this like shift in character and her losing the title, like I thought there was a good chance she could headline one of the WrestleMania nights.
Yep.
And now I don't even think she could headline a house show. That's how much damage they've done already. Unless you're in, Australia or wherever. But that's all I have for today. Great to say today. And have a great night.
Take care.
Yeah. Kurt, when do you think evening starts? What time?
Evening, I think, starts around 6:37, so kind of like around right now.
Yeah.
Where I'm at right now in New York.
Yeah. Different people have different I just took it like in 6-hour blocks. Like to me, overnight is midnight to 6, morning is 6 to noon, afternoon is noon to 6 p.m., night or evening is 6 p.m. to midnight. And I was shocked a few years ago when it came up. No. Evening begins at 5 p.m. and goes till 2 a.m. And then it's like all these weird definitions of it. So, but on the East Coast in the United States, we all agree it's evening, but it's still afternoon here in the Central Time Zone. So, yeah. Kyle Fassel says, you say afternoon in the 5:30 to 6 p.m. spot? You're nuts. Yeah, I'll see you late afternoon at 5:30. We would say that.
That's really late afternoon.
It's very late afternoon. But
that's what they should have switched the name of Raw tonight instead of Monday Night Raw, Monday Afternoon Raw.
You know what's interesting? I wonder if people who primarily read clocks that are round with 1 through 12 go with the symmetry of the right half. Now we're way off topic, but whatever, that happens. 12 to 6, and they see 12 to 6 on that half dial, and they're like, well, that's a half circle. That's a segment of the day. We'll call that the afternoon. And then the left half is, the left half is evening. And it's like, but when you're just looking at numbers, you're not really thinking about the visual representation. So then evening starts more logically based on the vibe of the day more than the physical appearance of the clock. Maybe there's a correlation between people thinking 5:30 isn't afternoon for people who read digital clocks that didn't grow up with like school classrooms with round clocks or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I definitely feel like it's evening now, even though it's starting to get darker later, which I'm very happy with. But yeah, I already know that it's evening.
Yep. Sadler Version 3 says, I have the exact thoughts as Wade on the 6-hour thing. Good.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. I got people thinking now. The chat's like, forget Cena's heel promo. Let's talk about when evening begins. Afternoon ends when I leave work, says Dr. Ross. That's fair. And BJF says evening to me shifts depending on the season when it starts to go dusk. Yeah, that's fair. I can see that too. All right, let's bring Heel Mark into the conversation. Mark, good to see you. Good to hear from you.
Heel Mark,
how's it going, man? How's it going? We got afternoon Raw. I mean, that was
weird.
I know.
So weird.
This was different. This is the first time I've ever watched Raw at this hour of the day ever in 32 years.
I know, right? Dude, just take it back to my childhood. I remember my father for the very first episode of Monday Night Raw. Like, if anybody can remember the first episode of Raw, I remember my dad when I was like, I think I was like 12 or 11 when the first episode. But he was like, "You can sleep on the couch, and I'll wake you up when Raw starts." Because we were so excited for Raw, because it was like, oh, this is going to be a big thing. I remember falling asleep during Raw when the first episode of Raw, but my dad taped it and I got to watch it the next day. But that's besides the point. But like, dude, we've gone so big. Wrestling is so big, and I don't know why people would even complain, because actually, right now, you get wrestling 7 days a week right now. You know that?
It's just nonstop. Yeah.
Like,
if you want it to be.
Why could you get like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday wrestling? Mm-hmm. Yes, on Sunday you get wrestling because LFG, and LFG is so good. I don't know why people complain about that. But anyway, the Cena moment was just, I loved it. I absolutely loved it because I've been a Cena fan since day one. Ruthless aggression, smacking Kurt Angle, and then now seeing this side of Cena, I was so excited. I was like the kid in the candy store. I absolutely ate it up. But then with the Cody Rhodes, just like, oh, you're just a little bitch. It was like, really? Dude, he just like beat you, made you bloody into a pulp, and you're a little bitch. Dude, you're a little bitch for just saying that. Like that's all you're gonna do is just calm. To me, I was just like, I wanted more from that. Like
I get
Cody
that.
came out so calmly, and then was just like, called him a name. It's just like, really? That's it. I don't know. And then my favorite part, as always, we get to see the 12-pack abs of Finn Balor that all of us men wish we could have. Like, dude, like seriously, I remember when he opened up his jacket, showed off his abs. Like, dude, don't we all wish we could look like that? Like, seriously, stop doing that, Finn. You're making me not want to like you because, like, I look down and I see a cake. Like, no. But I thought Raw was really good today, except for the middle, like you guys were saying.
Yeah, that middle dragged.
The middle was dragging so bad. I don't know what, like, and I agree with you with the Rhea Ripley segment, and it just felt like she was being almost like the Cody Rhodes segment, where it was just like, I signed it, I'm gonna run away and act like a spoiled toddler. It's like, what are we doing here? And I don't know, like, I'm trying to give my feedback to you guys, and I'm like, and it seems like I'm saying almost everything that you guys already said, which sounds kind of bad. I probably should have hung up.
Nah, you're good, man.
Yeah, you're good. It's
no, and Kurt, by the way, I don't know if you guys, if Wade, you saw me with Kurt when you were talking in a minute, dude, you had me laughing like so hard. Like, seriously, I was rolling, like, and I'm in a wheelchair and I was rolling. So,
oh wow,
but no, man, like, you are hysterical, dude. Like,
thank you.
Like, I want to go and listen to what Rude Dog was listening to, because now I'm curious, because I heard you speak this little bit of information, and it has me curious, because now I want to learn more about Kurt.
Yeah, definitely listen to our shows. We have 2 episodes so far. The next one is dropping in a few days. The best WrestleMania endings, which I cannot wait to dive into. There's at least 10, but I have to break it down to 5, which is going to be very, very tough.
Yeah, my podcast debuts this Saturday. So,
awesome!
I'm very excited for that.
And
Nervous.
It's called what?
Good stuff, man.
The Squared Circle Society.
There we go. So search that, everybody. Subscribe.
Yeah. I'm nervous. Wade, you're one of the reasons why I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this.
Because you felt like there was a void that I wasn't filling, and you needed to fill it.
No.
I know.
Literally, you have a passion for wrestling, like I do. And you were like, you know what? You started doing the Pro Wrestling Torch when you were in school, just writing, And I was like, you know what? Everyone's got a voice, man. And I may have a different opinion on things than other people. Like, dude, they call me the heel mark for a reason. I mark out when heels come out and there's a heel change. Like, you get a heel turn, I get excited over that. There's people that were crying during the Cena heel turn, and I was sitting here going, yay!
I was just shocked.
I was getting excited, overly excited, and there was people sad. Like, if there was a watch along and WWE put me up there, I would never be watched at all from my podcast. They'd be like, this guy cheered?
All right, Mark, I appreciate your comments. I want to react to something you said in terms of Cena and the fans that he's turned against, and I want to get to that. All right. Do you want to stick with us, or you want to run?
I'll watch on YouTube on my TV.
Okay, sounds good. Good to see you again, Mark.
All right, thanks, guys.
Take care, Mark. Thank you for the kind words.
Yeah. Do you think Cena showed any concern? And I don't mean this in a judgmental, like, for the kids who've been cheering him. They showed at ringside a dad holding up a sign that said, "You broke my kid's heart." He at least pretended to point at specific kids in the crowd. I don't know how often it was just an empty seat or random pointing. But do you think he showed that he was concerned at all, or do you? Because I think there was some people were worried he would go soft on the heel turn because he'd be worried about the kids' feelings. In AEW, people said, "Oh, Cody doesn't want to turn heel because he doesn't want to let his fans down." And we've heard of baby faces before going, "Yeah, I can't let my fans down." Now Cena's at a point where he's at the end of the road of being. There's a story arc to this. He'll probably retire as a baby face. Probably.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, you can say of course. I say probably just to hedge slightly because maybe they delay. Maybe he turns babyface after being away for a while. After his last matches as a heel. I mean, I'm leaving room for that. But eventually he'll come back and fans will boo him, and then he'll stand up to some heel and they'll cheer him. But whatever. How do you feel about? Was he too hard on? Was it too jarring for kids who really buy in? And is that just the price? That's up to the parents, not the wrestler to worry about.
Yeah. Hey, if he's a heel, he has to be a heel. And honestly, whenever him and Cody have another promo together and Cody brings up the kids, John Cena's one reaction to that statement should be F them kids. He really needs to say that in a promo within the next few weeks. F them kids. Yeah, because if he's going to be a full-edged heel, if he's going to go all in on this, he cannot be concerned about the little kids. No matter how much he wants to, do the Make-A-Wish stuff, that's all good when he's off TV and out of character. But when he's on character, when he's in front of us on TV or out in the arena doing a promo, he needs to be as screw the audience tip as possible. He has to be as much anti-audience, anti-fans as any heel can be. Because if you try to cater to them a little bit or try to play this in-between thing that kind of like Seth Rollins is doing nowadays, it's not going to work. So from what we saw of him tonight, that's exactly how he needs to be, if not more vicious, more cold, and more heartless.
We have some shorts up on our YouTube channel now. And one of them that got some traction was me saying, that this boom period isn't because of baby faces saying mean things about baby faces and heels, having to choose between two heels who you don't like to cheer, and all the shades of gray that, people who want wrestling to be more sophisticated want it to be. It's just like, that's not what this boom period is. It's people rooting for Cody against the Bloodline. It's people rooting for Sammy against the Bloodline. It's people embracing Rhea Ripley, dumping the damage control. You can have a shades of gray on a journey at a point of transition, but having all like we see with Rhea and Bianca and Io, and we're seeing with Seth and Punk, and it's like the fans are singing Seth's song, and then all of a sudden there's a CM Punk chant. So the fans who like Seth, now they got to listen to him say mean things about CM Punk, and it's mixed signals everywhere. And yeah, I don't think it's, again, an exception here and there is fine, but having Cena go all in heel is good. And as Dr. Ross points out in the chat, Cena needs to be ripping up kid signs.
Yes. Yep. Yes. Do that.
Yep. Four Eyes Malone, late to the chat. I feel like Cena believes what he said. Derek Hubbard said Cena's promo came across as him venting rational frustration in an irrational way. I prefer this to dropping heel lines purely for heel heat. BJF said, I like that guy's sign that was a newspaper front page saying John Cena broke my son's heart. Slow down. Betrayal. Respect. And TYS says, I'm with Kurt. Hell, have Cena give an AA to a young child from the crowd. Let's really go for it.
Okay, we don't want a lawsuit now. I think that'll be too far.
I hope TYS is joking. Although, maybe the way he applied the STF over the years, it would be fine. I mean, there was no pressure. There was all kinds of space between the arm.
Nah, that's still too far.
No, I know. Totally. Kyle, this is getting fun. Kyle says Cena needs to no-show a Make-A-Wish appearance.
Like Ultimate Warrior did.
Yeah. Cena could have said, hey, by the way, I canceled all my Make-A-Wish appearances this month. I've had enough of you sick kids. No. I mean, there are lines he's not going to. I mean, it's fun for us to joke about it, but there are places he doesn't need to go. Ripping up a fan sign, totally fine.
That's fine, yeah.
Yep. And let's see, was there another comment here? Goodfella 1422 said panning to poor kids in the crowd decked out in Cena gear and him saying he doesn't want their fandom. LOL. So yeah, I mean, they had fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up next. TYS says definitely joking, guys. Kyle Fassel says I'm not joking. So there we go. All right, let's go to an email from JB from Detroit. He'll bring up some things we haven't quite covered yet. First, though, he's, of course, talking about Cena's promo. Cena's promo felt like the most performative of the performative that I can remember in recent memory, and that's not a compliment. In this scenario, I take the crowd's reaction out of it because it was such a historic moment while being overseas that it was going to get a big reaction. We still got the Let's Go Cena, Cena sucks. I think people make too much of that, Kurt. I think that's just a thing especially internationally, people just like to do when Cena's around. They listen to it their whole life. They just want to be part of that chant. They're saying both things. They do. It's not reflective of how they really feel. It's just a thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't take
even I got to a point after a while where I would boo John Cena, but I would be laughing while I was booing him, to the point where I don't really hate this guy. It's just fun to boo him. It's nothing personal.
Exactly. So JB says, no one believes that he actually believes he is a victim and that it took 25 years and he's just realizing it today. Dropping the I'm not a babyface, I'm not a heel, I'm a human being line was just icing on the crap cake. So I obviously I disagree with JB on this. I do think people can believe Cena thought this because he was booed and had to smile through it for the vast majority of his career. This in canon of WWE. I think people are holding this to a real life standard. And I don't think you should do what Rock does and go, well, this isn't real life and advertise it. But in the canon of the Cena character that we watched for all these years, the persona in the realm of WWE, this is believable. You know, that, and I wish we had the detail of when he came to the realization or how he came to the conclusion that fans didn't appreciate him, you know, and how it built up and built up and built up and what the break point was. I would like to know that. I think it would help me buy his character more. But in the narrative of WWE and the canon of WWE, however you want to say it, I buy this version of Cena, Kurt.
Yeah, I buy it too. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the story in the next month. Whether or not he should win at WrestleMania is still debatable. I probably won't know for sure how I feel until we get closer to that point. Yeah. But like I said, this is a way more interesting direction to go in with a Cena and Cody match for WrestleMania than as if it would have been two baby faces going each other saying, I respect you. I respect you. Let's let the best man win. Let's let the best man be the champion. The hell with that BS. I'm more than happy with this direction. It's something we haven't seen in over 20 years. And yeah, I can't wait for next week and the week after.
I will say, in fairness to the other plan, they would have made it more interesting than what you just described. Probably. I mean, in all likelihood. I think Cena would have gotten under Cody's skin. Cody would have gotten under Cena's skin. Some heel would have gotten involved to try to agitate that. They would have, I'm sure they had a plan to keep things more interesting than 6 weeks of I respect you, you're the best. No, you're the greatest. I'll feel bad when I pin you, but I have to because I'm fighting for my leg. You know, like they would have made it more interesting, Kurt.
Yeah, I'm sure they would have done something with it, but nothing better than what we're getting right now.
Yeah, fair enough. Yep. I don't think you need to conjure up the worst case scenario to compare it favorably to what they're doing. I think you can say even if they made it interesting, it would have been hard to beat what we're seeing so far. And I'm with you on that. I think that, you know, and it would have been interesting if Cody agreed to turn heel and Cena was the babyface in this scenario too. Imagining how that would have gone. All right. On the positive side, JB says, I do think Cody delivered a strong promo. I just wish he had gotten more time in that opening segment to go a bit deeper. I guess there's always next week and the week after. I know most people are going to view the crowd enthusiasm as a positive, but I could do without the sole focus on the 5-minute plus crowd chants in every foreign market. It makes for a horrible at-home viewing experience. The nonstop chanting throughout all foreign market events has certainly lost its endearing novelty by this point. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, I mean, It's still fun. I still personally enjoy it. Maybe I'll get sick of it by next week or the week after.
Right, yep.
But for right now, I'm loving it.
Yep. The heel Mark says, I said this once before, nobody listens. John Cena wasn't turning heel. He was merely beating Cody to show him you don't use that language in front of kids. And Derek Mitchell jumps in with history. He goes, for those who don't know, John Cena originally turned heel on October 10th, 2002. That episode of SmackDown against Billy Kidman.
Yes, I remember.
He turned heel after a tag team against Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit. And I think when we say Cena's first heel turn, what we mean is his first heel turn since he became a national household name, centerpiece, top act in WWE. I mean, for almost his entire WWE run, he was a babyface, but there was, before he was really well established, a heel turn.
Yeah, like when he was doing the Doctor of Thugonomics gimmick and all that. Mm-hmm. Those were honestly the golden days of SmackDown. Damn, I miss those years.
Let's see if there's another chat in here. Okay, so back to JB's email. No, Michael Cole. John Cena is not a 16-time champion because of the fans. He's a 16-time champion because he's good at wrestling. The complete disregard for kayfabe immersion in the Cena turn storyline is offensive to me as a fan. So my pushback on that, because normally I'd be on JB's side on this, but I think there's a nuance that is a worthwhile differentiation. Cole is saying the fan support is what inspired you and drove you and fueled you, the same way that home teams in the NBA and NHL and NFL, they have better records at home than they do away. And it's not just because of slanted ref calls or, you know, getting the last shift change or the last line change in the NHL. I mean, those things help for sure. There's some rules baked in. But when you have 15,000 people or 50,000 people cheering for you and you're at home, that does fuel and inspire you. As a human being, you have all these people supporting you. So I think that's the point Cole's making. I don't think he's being literal. I think JB's being a little too literal. I think he's saying that fan support really helped you, John, and you're not appreciating all those cheers that you encouraged did fuel you to fight through pain, to fight through adversity. Kurt, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. That's why it's so hard for teams that are playing away to win a game 7 in a playoff series, because of the crowd that's cheering against you and also cheering for their home team. Because people could say it all they want, that the fans don't matter. The fans don't matter. Yes, they do. Having those fans cheer for you, be on your side. I don't care how much of an introvert you are. I don't care how much you say you hate the fans, how much they don't matter. When they are on your side, when you do have them cheering for you to that degree and supporting you to that degree, it does make a difference. It made a difference for Hulk Hogan. It made a big difference for Stone Cold Steve Austin, and even The Rock. When The Rock eventually turned heel and had that run with the nation, eventually people saw how talented he was and how good he was at what he did, even though he was an asshole about it. So over time, they had no choice but to cheer for him because they respected him. And lo and behold, within 2 years, he was one of the biggest wrestling stars in the world. And one of the reasons why is because of the reaction of the audience. So yes, the audience does make a big difference. Maybe they're not the ones personally signing his paychecks and all that, but the fact is they are paying money to go to the shows, buy merchandise, buy the pay-per-views when pay-per-views were actually a thing. So yes, they are the ones that make a difference. And if somebody thinks they don't make a difference and they don't matter, they are clowning themselves big time.
JB also says, I would really look forward to a Penta versus Braun Breaker match stylistically. My question is, with rumors that Phoenix is WWE bound shortly and that he'll join his brother immediately upon his debut, I assume we'll get the Penta Breaker match sooner than later, and then Penta will lose so that Penta and Phoenix become a tag team. My question is, would immediately reteaming the Lucha Brothers be the right move based on what we've seen of Penta as a singles act?
Yeah.
Kurt, what do you think?
Yeah, it's kind of a rough predicament to be in because Penta has a lot of momentum right now. He's only been on the main roster for 2 months and he's already stacking up wins. The crowd seems to like him. His whole presentation's great. So Ray Phoenix, as great as he is, as great as a tag team as they were, especially in AEW, I think that it would be a risk to kind of like kill the Penta singles push right now, especially when he's going to go against Breaker possibly at WrestleMania. Yeah, that would be kind of a gamble. But who knows? It could maybe pay off. Maybe there'll be a stellar tag team, possibly the tag team the whole year, and yeah, they'll go on to have a great run. But it is a risk, just like the Rhea turn they're doing right now.
Yeah. Stylistically, it's an interesting match. Yeah. My answer to that is I think keeping Penta and Phoenix separate is better for both of them for a while. I'd like them on separate brands, establishing themselves, and eventually have them unite as a team. But I think Penta has some momentum. I thought tonight his promo was good in the aisle. There was charisma. There was a determination. I think fans felt that he was, actually feeling what he was saying and emoting, and just feeding him to Braun to lose and then become a tag team wrestler. I mean, I don't think Penta's a top guy in waiting. I think having him be, an intercontinental level guy as a singles wrestler for a while is more worthwhile than rushing to team him in Phoenix.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely proven enough in his little time that he's been on the main roster that he could definitely at least be Intercontinental Champion. Whether he'll win the title from Braun Breaker, that remains to be seen. But he can at least be in a marquee match with Breaker for that title at WrestleMania. He has enough momentum right now where that is justified.
Next, JB says, I feel as though it was really early for the ceremonial contract signing over a month out from the Mania for Io and Bianca. Actually, I think all contract signings are way too late, and this is when they should be. Like, you should have a contract signing before you put them on the poster so we know the match is happening. The idea of advertising the match for a month and then doing a contract signing at the last second feels like shouldn't you have signed a contract sooner? You've been advertising this for a month. So I get what he's saying storyline wise, but I mean, I think each match is going to get a week or two of space to itself, and this is the time to forward this storyline. I mean, they wanted the contract signing as a setting for Rhea to come out and sign her name to the contract, so it served a purpose. But I think logically it makes more sense to have it now than later.
Yeah, I get it. Like, unless there's an issue with the paperwork or something and they have to delay it for that many weeks, yeah, they should definitely have the contract signings as soon as possible.
Yep.
At least a month
Rhea,
out.
Rhea has to be turning heel. Io and Bianca came across as professional and respectful during the signing, well, except when Bianca was shoving Io in the face.
Yeah, it was messed up.
During the contract signing, though, I agree. Rhea's come across as immature and unlikable. This can't be by accident. Also, is Rhea about to be rewarded for her petulance by being added to the title match at Mania? This is a really weird way to go about it, in my opinion. I'm not sure that giant cat fight for multiple weeks is how we would set things up for a major Mania match feel. Yeah, I don't like this journey at this point. I mean, I want to see where they land. You know, a little more of the story before I condemn it. But I mean, yeah, I'm concerned about it. I don't think anyone's looking. I don't think Bianca or Rhea and frankly Adam Pearce are going to look good if this turns into a triple threat. I think Io is just going to go, I want them both in the ring. Let's just get them both in there. And Bianca might go, that's fine with me. I earned a one-on-one match, but you know what? I'd rather have Rhea in the ring where I know what she's up to than at ringside where I don't. I think that's probably where they're heading. It's not perfect. I don't love it, but that's my hunch of how they're going to justify a triple threat.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That would make perfect sense for Io to be so angry at the way she's been treated and disrespected, where she says, you know what? I want to take on both of you, and I'm going to make both of you bow down to me at WrestleMania, and I'm going to show you that I'm not a third wheel. So, yeah, it would be definitely the right direction to go in. And it's funny, out of the women's storylines going across both shows, the most interesting, I think, so far is this one, and the least interesting is the Charlotte and Tiffany Stratton one. Although they spiced it up a little bit on Friday with that little brawl they had, even though Tiffany Stratton like missed Charlotte and hit the like security guards with the moonsault instead of the person she was trying to hit. Yeah, I would say that's probably the weakest of the storylines with the women heading into WrestleMania.
Yep. TYS in the chat says, hopefully they don't put Rhea into the match, but with Io and Bianca giving the go-ahead. Pierce makes Rhea earn it with a qualifying match of some kind. I mean, you don't want to take away what it means to win the Rumble or win the Elimination Chamber by just adding people willy-nilly to matches because they run out to the ring and commandeer a contract and sign it. I mean, they have to be careful about this. All right. Next from JB, I personally wouldn't have had Gunther show any signs of weakness prior to his match at Mania. Having Jay as the pure underdog babyface fighting against all the odds and finally accomplishing the impossible at Mania would have been the ultimate reward. What do you think about the Gunther Jay journey, Kurt, including tonight's chapter?
Just like last week, I said it last week and I'll say it again for this week, this storyline is really starting to get stale. It's great that Gunther didn't trap Jey Uso in the sleeper again and like leave him laying like he did the last 2 weeks, but still, just from what we saw tonight, there's nothing worth really getting that excited about. Like I said, they need to kind of maybe take a break from this story for the next week or two and let some other stories play out, or have like Gunther beat Jay down so badly that he has to be written off TV, or even beat Jimmy up so badly that he has to be taken off TV, because we saw that interaction with them last Friday on SmackDown. So yeah, they need to do something kind of to maybe spice this up or maybe take a break from it, because either way, what they've done the last 2 weeks or so, this is not interesting the way it was like when Jay won the Royal Rumble initially. Yeah, this is one storyline that has really cooled off big time.
It's a long time that they've had to fill, and we'll see if they can rev it up for the next 3 weeks. JB also says, is there any chance that Liv Alexa interaction from Elimination Chamber is leading to Judgment Day and Wyatt 6 at Mania? I know we don't have a ton of time now. I was thinking that this might lead to final Judgment Day breakup at Mania. As always, love the show and go VIP. Yeah, it's so weird, the Wyatt 6 situation and
disappeared.
And how popular Liv was, and then Alexa Bliss, and then she just, I hope that there's a reason for the kind of pause and the just disappearance, and that there's a payoff, and they're kind of lulling you into forgetting about them until they show up again. But I don't know.
Yeah, if I had to take a guess, especially after what happened at Elimination Chamber when Liv eliminated Alexa Bliss, I could see at WrestleMania them doing a tag title match with Liv and Raquel against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Mm-hmm. I mean, they used to be the tag team champions a couple years ago, so it wouldn't be a bad idea if they threw them back together under the Wyatt 6 umbrella. So if there's anything Liv and Raquel end up doing at WrestleMania, I think that would be their best scenario.
Yep. Anything else, Kurt, you want to add about tonight's show? I know some people were lamenting, but reacting to Austin Theory just getting jobbed out in 30 seconds.
Oh my God, he got clowned. Oof.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was brutal. That whole segment, that whole thing with Jey Uso beating him so fast, and then Gunther tries to trap him in the sleeper again, but Jey releases it. and then like takes the title and puts it up before he throws it back at Gunther. Yeah, honestly, that was definitely one of the weaker parts of the show.
Yeah. In the chat, Ashley M says, Cody is such a star. So happy for him, especially when you think of the past 7 years. I was thinking watching Cody standing in the ring with Cena and this Brussels crowd just 100%, as best you could tell, behind Cody, buying into Cena's heel run. And I was like, what if Tony Khan didn't like pro wrestling? Like, where would Cody be? He left. He wrestled in, ROH, Japan, toured, Indies. Would he have had a chance to get this kind of push? Would Vince McMahon have respected him for going away, establishing himself, and then, kind of the juiciness of taking a top star from the upstart competition over on TBS and TNT with Warner Media behind him? Would Cody have gotten the red carpet rolled out and that countdown clock and the big push? And would Paul Levesque look at him the way that he looks at him if he wasn't someone that they acquired from AEW and by pushing him? And Cody's a success story, and Cody deserves the push he's getting. I'm not saying he doesn't, but people don't always get what they deserve. Sometimes there needs to be external motivation from those in control to give them what will work. And you wonder, would Paul Levesque have been like, yeah, let me make Cody my centerpiece babyface with all the choices that are out there if it weren't for the AEW journey? So Cody it wasn't a guarantee to work. He could have been a bust. He isn't. But you wonder without AEW and that chapter in his career, where he'd be right now, Kurt.
Yeah, it's definitely a good question. But the one thing I do remember is that Cody left WWE before AEW was even a thing. So even by that point, I'm sure he was frustrated and had enough, to the point where like he didn't want to deal with WWE anymore. He didn't care what happened afterwards. He just knew at that point in his life he needed to get out of WWE and forge his own path. And even before AEW came around, he was already doing his thing on the independents. He was building a lot of more momentum and building a name for himself. But as far as like where he's come now, to the point where he is now in WWE, if it weren't for AEW, there is a chance that it probably wouldn't have happened to that degree. Maybe he would eventually have made his way back to WWE at some point, but I don't think he would maybe be the guy like he is now had he not had that AEW run in those years before.
Will Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the final boss, show up in the storyline between now and WrestleMania, or is this just going to be about Cena and Cody, and the final boss will show up later? Luke in the chat said, after listening to all the conversation, I still don't understand why Rock was involved. At some point, he will come in and overshadow both Cody and Cena. Rock is an unnecessary appendage. When is it logical, or when do you fear, even if it's illogical, that Rock shows up again, Kurt?
I think he needs to show up only once between now and WrestleMania. He doesn't need to be on the show every week. He probably wouldn't be on the show every week anyway, but I think he needs to show up just at least once. Yeah, the story between Cody and Cena is perfect the way it is. I'm sure definitely the both of them can make it compelling between now and then. The Rock can just make one appearance where him and Cena leave Cody laying again, and yeah, that'll be fine to see him only once until WrestleMania.
He could be the deciding factor in Cody retaining or losing the title to Cena at WrestleMania. Either by his interference backfires and that leads to Cena, turning babyface, or I don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of things they can do where he lays low and then all of a sudden his music hits late in the WrestleMania match and a bunch of people cheer and a bunch of people groan when he decides that he's going to be part of the WrestleMania main event scenario. Yeah. I think having Rock such an integral part of the decision for Cena, Cena looking at Rock and Rock nodding and Cena then turning on Cody, it feels just super weird to have one of these a main character in the story just be ignored for the next month. I think they should address it. I mean, I think Cena should say, and maybe it just doesn't want, I don't know, but maybe Cena should say, if I get my wish, which is Cena addressing when did he come to this realization, just Cena going, for a while I had this feeling something wasn't right, but I just kept showing up and the fans cheered me. I wanted to believe they were sincere, and I wanted to think the fans booing me weren't as bad as they came across or whatever. And The Rock got me to see the light. The Rock was the one who he's been through whatever, just he can work out the details, but something where he goes, and then I told Rock, I got this, thank you. But, I got just something where it's sort of, there's writing him off. Like, I don't like when a TV series goes away in the off season and you come back and that there's a character gone and they never write him out. They never mention him again just because there was a contract dispute with the actor or something. And that's happened in some series. Yeah. So I hope we get an explanation. I mean, just for the, dotting the I's and crossing the T's aspect of this, and I expect we will. I'm not ruling out that it's after WrestleMania, and Rock is just going, and maybe Rock's been talked into it by Levesque and Cody and Cena. Step aside for a while. It'll have more impact if you show up in July, like something like that. And Dwayne's like, whatever.
He definitely needs to be at WrestleMania. That's no debate about it, because I know there's a certain somebody who might be there to back up Cody against Rock at WrestleMania. I think we know who that is. One of the Rock's old rivals, who's actually been signed to be a part of WrestleMania weekend, like doing autograph signings. I think we know who we're talking about.
Yep. It'd be interesting if they end up.
We didn't get him last year. We didn't get him last year for whatever reason. That was the only thing missing from that match. So maybe we get him this year.
Well, tomorrow on the flagship, I will have Zach Haydorn as my co-host. He is former PWTorch assistant editor and has been on the show many, many times, and also on the flagship. He'll be on our audio-only podcast show. Search Wade Keller on your podcast app to get the weekly flagship, along with interviews, pay-per-view previews, and flashbacks going back 5, 10, and even 15 years. Fascinating conversations about Roman's babyface push and how that wasn't working. It was a weekly tradition that people calling in going, when are they going to turn Cena heel? When are they going to turn Cena heel? So you can relive some of those moments. Search Wade Keller in your podcast app. It is free to subscribe to that show. If you want the full experience of everything we offer, the way to do that is by becoming a PWTorch VIP member. You can get a 7-day free trial of our VIP podcast lineup, which means all the commercial breaks go away. It just jumps right past the breaks into more content. On Patreon or Spotify, just search PWTorch VIP, and you can get a 7-day free trial. And it syncs up on your phone, on your podcast app, or wherever you listen to podcasts, or Patreon or Spotify. And you'll get not only the ad-free versions of our free shows, but also the VIP exclusive shows. And there's a whole lineup of shows you're missing out on if you're not VIP. You can also get a full VIP membership through credit card, debit card, or PayPal. And that unlocks our archives also. With that full membership, it also gives you compatibility with Apple Podcasts and many other podcast apps. There's no advanced settings, no passwords to enter. We have a really slick system set up. Single click, you are in. It'll sign you up. And you also then get access to our ad-free website with exclusive content, the weekly Pro Wrestling Torch newsletter that started it all, 35 plus years of archives of back issues. We have over 1,900 back issues and counting, dating back to the late 1980s. So every big story you can imagine, we've had a cover story on it, editorials. I've had interviews with some of the biggest names in pro wrestling, long-form transcripts in those archives. You can lose yourself in a week-by-week contemporaneous coverage of pro wrestling with the Pro Wrestling Torch style of covering wrestling, and a lot of my writing and a lot of my backstage news items. It's fascinating to unlock and dive in. So get a full VIP membership at pwtorch.com/govip. That page also does give you full details on the other options through Patreon. You can also sign up directly with your Apple account through Apple Podcasts too. So full details on that, pwtorch.com/govip. Kurt, anything you want to sneak in before we sign off here this afternoon? No, it's evening.
I'm really looking forward to Friday night on SmackDown, not only for the crowd, but for what we get from the Roman, Punk, and Rollins situation involving Heyman too. Yeah, because it's crazy how we're waiting so long for it, especially considering that it happened last week, and we really didn't get much for it this week except for the Rollins promo, which is basically the build towards what we see on SmackDown. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to the next developments between this Jade Cargill and Naomi storyline. So,
yes.
Yeah, I think SmackDown will probably be better than Raw was this week.
Yep. It's fun watching them negotiate with fans about why they shouldn't be too mad that a star that they're plugging who isn't there will be on in another country a few days later. That's an ongoing challenge. Seth was trying to negotiate that well. Derek Hubbard in the chat did say it's smart to hold off The Rock's appearance until later. Initially, allow Cody and Cena to tell their story. Rock is in the holster for the next plot twist. He is the phosphorus to add heat. And certainly I think that's the way they look at it. And BJF says, could we see Rock versus Cena when eventually Cena turns back face, or would that be a car crash match at both of their ages and part-timeness? I would think you got to do a tag match if you do that, like Cody and Cena against Rock and someone.
Yeah. I was at WrestleMania 29 when they had their second match. I went to both of their matches, but I remember specifically the second match, and it was not good. And that was 12 years ago. Imagine what it would be like in 2025.
Yes. Regarding our conversation on Cody, BJF says Cody bet on himself and it paid off. It's a real American dream story. Yeah, there's definitely something to that. Cool. Just looking at BJF says, is SmackDown's post show after the Netflix show worldwide, or would be waiting till after it's shown in the US? I can't watch it in the US except on USA Network. It's not on Netflix. It's blocked out here. So yep. So we'll be doing our normal time slot Friday night, and then we'll be back on Monday afternoon again with that. So yeah, Zach Hadorn interviewed Stone Cold Steve. That's why I brought him up, by the way. I forgot to get to that. Stone Cold Steve Austin interviewed by Zach Hadorn in recent days for Sports Illustrated, and Zach will be by an author of a book on Stone Cold 2 and the artistry of the presentation of the Stone Cold character. So Zach will be with me tomorrow, so check that out. Search Wade Keller, subscribe to the Blue Logo Show. It's audio podcast only, not on YouTube, so that is the way to get that. We'll talk to Zach about his thoughts on and the vibes he got from talking to Steve about whether he ends up involved in all of this. There could be another gigantic payday waiting for him. Or, as I've talked to Steve, no one's been on Steve Austin's podcast more than me. I've been on about 40 times with him, and he's been on this show a lot too. I'm the most frequent guest ever on the Stone Cold podcast.
Interesting.
And I knew Steve way before he was a star. We've been chatting on the phone about wrestling and other things for almost 30 years. 30 years, give or take. So I know when I've talked to Steve, and we have a bunch of podcast interviews I've done with him over the years up to, he's been very reticent about wanting to get back in the ring and be physical and risk the work it takes to get in shape and the risk of injury and what that could do to his recreational life. And he's fine. He's happy with life. But you know what? It's been a few years since I asked him on a podcast about that. So maybe. Never say never. So I'll get a sense from Zach if that came up and how he feels. So let's check that out tomorrow. Sadler Vision 3 says, yeah, the Steve Austin podcast has always started listening to this show. Yeah, it was the case. It was good publicity for us when he was
Nice.
when he was putting me over to his audience. All right, cool. Kurt, thanks as always. So fun that you're able to be on.
Anytime, man.
Take care. And thanks again, everybody. And we'll be by Wednesday night after Dynamite here on YouTube. And in between, the PWTorch NXT crew will be by covering NXT after it airs on the CW tomorrow night. So check that out tomorrow night right here on the PWTorch YouTube channel live, or right here on the Pro Wrestling Torch family of podcasts. That'll be on the PWTorch Daily Cast feed.